Hi, I'm attempting to recreate a 65-year-old bird bath that split in two right down the middle here for my mother. This process is following the smooth-on technique that's on the web. So you build a box that basically is going to hold your structure, and this is just making a mold because this is a cement bird bath. I could just push it together and it stayed in place because it was heavy enough to support itself. And then I used a vinyl concrete patch by Quick-Rite, and it worked really well to fill in that space. There were a couple of large cracks in these areas here, which I put some wire mesh under and then filled that in with the Quick-Rite. The next step is to put your putty around the inside, and that supports and plus seals everything. So I'm going to just start putting it around here. I already had rolled out some snakes of clay that can be squished in together. This would just be the first row. After putting on the vinyl concrete patch, I coated this with diluted lacquer twice and then put on 2 more coats of full lacquer. It gave it a really smooth surface. So doing this first round locks this piece in place, and then there's another piece which I'll show in a minute that goes over the top. So the idea here is to seal right up to the midpoint so that it's a 2-part mold. And then you pour the Ultracal, or whatever you're using, into that half of the mold, and this will become more clear. It's easier just to bring the clay out so that it's on the very edge of this, and then when that other piece of melamine is used, this is a melamine box because it has real thin coating on the outside, which allows the mold to release easier from the sides of the wood. Try to fill in everything below this center part. Now I have the clay distributed all the way around, so that fixes this in place. So the next step would be to put this piece on, which actually raises up the lower part, which is going to be the second half of the mold. So you have to slip this down in here, and I have the registration marks on. I just bought some of the carriage bolts, and they have that little square piece on the bottom of the bolt before the thread starts, but I just drilled some holes and then used hot glue to stick those in place. Now you need to slide this down in here, and that gives you an idea. It has to fit pretty close to the edges, and this piece I had to put 1/8" wood on the bottom of this in order to bring this level up to the halfway part of the piece that's being molded. So now I have to push this stuff in here and fill in the rest. I'm using a little helper stick here to push this down into the bottom. Well, you get the idea. This is a time-consuming part of it, and I will just have to go all the way around that circle and fill in with clay so that there's a complete seal. So now the clay is basically in place all the way around this. Now I need to go around the edges of this and try to get this as flat as possible, and also so that it follows the exact curve of the model that you're trying to make the mold for. So I did buy some basic clay tools online, and I can see the advantage because you can go right along and zero right into the edge of the model while you're doing this. And here's the first half of the mold with the border of the model filled in with the clay, And then that filler piece is in there with the registration bolt heads. So here's the top of the bird bath after pouring the bottom side with Ultracal 30, and it's very hard. You can see where the crack is that was filled on the other side. Now I have to just do some work on this to make it, match the rest of the contour of the bird bath, and fill this in. And I'll use the vinyl Quick Right patch, which worked really great, and then put a coat of thinned lacquer on this, a couple of coats, and then a couple of coats of regular lacquer, and then you can put your release agent over the top of that. The registration marks turned out really good. There were 3 of them here, one here, and one here. Here's a little better picture of the crack that was in this, and I have the wire mesh in here, which allowed the bottom side of the bird bath to be smooth and filled in. And so doing the same thing on this side, I was able to push the wire mesh down here. That'll help hold it in place a little better. Then had to chip off a little bit of this because it deformed when I was filling it through on the other side. So this has been chipped off, so I should be able to use that vinyl patch and make this conform to the surface of the original bird bath. Here's the top part of the bird bath after filling this area and this large area here with the vinyl patch, and then using a grinder for cement by hand to go around and smooth this stuff out. Here's the bird bath bowl with the shellac applied, and you can see where the damage was, and then it split right down the middle, and there was also a piece taken out right here. I filled in the screw holes with clay and then built a shelf around here with clay that hopefully will help separate the molds. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please click the link below. If this video was helpful, please give it a like. Thanks.